Welcome to our channel Money Minded Online, the podcast where we explore the best strategies, tools, and stories for making money online. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned hustler, or just curious about how to thrive in the digital economy, you're in the right place. Each week, we bring you actionable insights, inspiring interviews, and proven tactics to help you build wealth online. So sit back, take notes, and get ready to transform your future. Let's dive in.
All right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive into Joe Rogan's podcasting empire.
Yeah, you hear that name everywhere these days, even if you don't necessarily listen to the show itself.
Right, and he's bringing in millions of dollars.
Billions.
And so we wanted to really dig in and figure out how he's doing it.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people are interested in this.
Right, if you're starting a podcast or if you've got one and you want to...
Or thinking about it.
Yeah, or you're even thinking about it,
Yeah.
How do you take that and turn it into something that makes money?
How do you do it?
Right, and so we're going to be looking at a lot of different things. Sponsorships, merch, and...
The Spotify deal.
That big Spotify deal.
A lot to talk about.
Yeah, so let's just jump right in. Let's start with sponsorships.
Okay, yeah. The sponsorships are like the bread and butter for a lot of podcasts.
Right.
And he's got some really big ones.
Like who?
On it, that supplement company?
Oh, yeah.
23andMe.
Okay.
Cash App. These are big brands.
Yeah, so he's not messing around. He's going for the big ones.
Yeah, and these brands align really well with him and his audience.
Right.
He actually uses these products and talks about them on the show.
So it's not just like a random, hey, we'll put anything in.
Right.
Yes, it's like things that he actually uses. So when he talks about them, it feels real.
Yeah, he's very authentic, which is, a big part of it. Like when you listen to him talk about these products, he's conversational.
Right. It doesn't feel like he's reading a script.
It doesn't feel forced at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes he'll even talk about, some drawbacks of a product.
Right. Like, oh, this is good, but it's not good for this.
Exactly. And that makes him even more trustworthy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not just like this is the greatest thing ever.
Right.
But obviously part of it is he has millions of listeners.
Oh, yeah.
So that plays a big role.
Absolutely. You got to have a big audience to get these sponsors and to have them pay big bucks.
Right. But those listeners, they're really engaged, right? They trust him.
Yeah, it's not just about the numbers. It's about the engagement.
Right. And they probably are more willing to actually go buy the product if they hear about it from him.
Oh, yeah. That's the whole point of advertising, right?
Right. So sponsorships are obviously a huge part of the strategy.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to another strategy that he uses. Merch.
Okay.
He's got, I've seen mugs.
Oh, yeah.
With his catchphrases.
Oh, guns are great.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
And then I've even seen some stuff with, quotes from guests on the show.
Oh, that's cool.
It's not just, like a basic merch line.
Right. It's really tied into the show.
Yeah, and I think that really helps his fans to feel like they're a part of...
A community.
Like a community.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, if I'm wearing this shirt, I'm part of this club.
It's a great way to build brand loyalty,
Yeah, for sure.
And they're smart about it, too.
How?
They use limited edition releases to create that scarcity. That
you got to get it now.
You got to get it now or it's gone forever.
I've definitely fallen for that.
Oh, me too. FOMO is real.
It's real.
Especially when you're a fan.
And you know that there's only a certain number.
And it's going to sell out.
I got to get it.
Yeah.
But also with, these websites now, Printful, Teespring.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to do merch.
Absolutely.
You don't have to, have a ton of inventory.
You don't have to take on all that risk,
You're right. So you can just test the waters a little bit and see what sells.
Exactly.
So it's smart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we have to talk about the big one.
The elephant in the room.
The elephant. That Spotify deal.
That Spotify deal.
Back in 2020.
2020, yeah, $200 million.
I remember when that happened, it was like, what?
It was huge news.
And I think it really showed everybody that Spotify was serious about
podcasting, yeah.
Podcasting.
They were going all in.
Yeah.
They put a lot of money into it.
Yeah, and they started to bring in, more big names.
Yeah, it was a big shift in the podcasting landscape.
So, it was a win-win for Rogan and Spotify.
Yeah.
He gets a ton of money.
A ton of money.
And then Spotify gets, arguably the biggest podcaster in the world.
He was already huge, but that deal made him even bigger.
Yeah.
I think it made Spotify bigger, too.
Yeah, I'm sure people signed up for Spotify just to
listen to Joe Rogan.
To listen to Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And it kind of started this, trend of exclusivity.
Yeah, which is interesting, right?
Yeah, because then you can't get it anywhere else.
So if you're not on Spotify, you can't listen to Joe Rogan.
And so that's a whole other
It
conversation
get a whole other conversation.
about the pros and cons of exclusivity.
Yeah.
But it also, Spotify Premium, you can get Rogan ad-free.
Right. So that's another revenue stream for him. Subscriptions.
He's got sponsors, merch, and subscriptions.
He's got it all.
So it's like, diversify your income.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right. And that's something that, we can all learn from, even if we're not Joe Rogan.
Right.
Like, okay, how can I, have different ways to bring in money?
And I think that's a good segue to our next topic, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about Rogan's specific strategies, but what are some broader lessons that any podcaster can learn from his success?
Yeah, let's get into that.
I think, one of the big things is this whole idea of like Patreon and Apple Podcasts.
Okay, yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting because it's like giving creators more control.
More control?
Yeah, like they don't have to rely on those traditional ad models.
Right.
They can go directly to their audience.
And they can say, hey,
yeah,
if you like what we do, give us $5 a month.
Exactly.
And you'll get
bonus content, early access.
What else?
Maybe even like Q&As or like a private community.
Yeah, like a community just for people who are part of this.
Exactly.
So it's like you're really building that hardcore fan base.
Yeah, those are the people who really, really love your show.
And then Apple Podcasts, they're doing something similar, right?
Yeah, they have their own subscription service now.
Okay.
And it's interesting because Apple is a huge player in the podcasting world.
They are.
So them getting into the subscription game is a big deal.
Yeah, so, it's good for listeners, right?
Yeah.
Because it gives them more choices.
More choices.
Like, okay, I want to support this podcast,
right,
but I don't want to listen to ads.
Right.
So I'll pay $5 a month or whatever it is, and I'll get the ad-free experience.
And that bonus content, too.
Oh, right.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win for everybody. Everybody's happy.
It is.
Okay, but we also have to talk about YouTube and TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting in on this.
I know. It's crazy. YouTube, obviously, video, right?
Yeah.
But they've really embraced podcasting. You can upload your whole podcast as a video.
Oh, wow.
You can have, like, graphics.
Okay.
And chapters.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like a more interactive experience.
Yeah.
People can watch and listen.
And some people, I know, they like to have something to look at.
They do. Yeah, it's more engaging for them.
Yeah, for sure. And then TikTok. Which is, like, known for these, like, really short videos.
Right, yeah, like 15 seconds, 30 seconds.
How do you even do a podcast?
I know, it's crazy, but people are doing it.
What are they doing?
Well, they're taking, like, snippets of their podcast.
Okay.
Like maybe a funny moment.
Okay.
Or a really interesting point.
Okay.
And they're putting it on TikTok.
And so it's almost like an advertisement.
It's like a trailer.
Yeah.
To get people to go listen to the full episode.
And it works, right? Because TikTok's algorithm is crazy.
It's crazy. It can blow things up.
Yeah.
Like overnight.
I've seen it happen.
Me too.
So, yeah, if you can get your podcast snippet to go viral on TikTok.
It's huge.
That's a lot of listeners.
A lot of listeners.
So, okay, it's changing. Everything's changing all the time.
It's evolving, yeah.
So what do you think? Like, what's the key takeaway here?
I think the key takeaway is that you got to be adaptable.
Okay.
You got to be willing to experiment and try new things.
Don't get stuck in your ways.
Don't be afraid to try something new.
Okay.
But at the same time, some things are always going to be important.
Like what?
Like good content. We got to have good content. It doesn't matter what platform you're on.
If it's boring.
If it's boring, people aren't going to listen.
They're going to click away.
They're going to click away. Yeah.
Right.
And you got to engage with your audience.
Okay.
Respond to comments, be active on social media.
Okay, so it's not just about putting it out there and then forgetting about it.
No, you got to build a community.
Right.
You got to make people feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah, like you actually care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
And be yourself.
Yeah.
Don't try to be someone you're not.
So try to be Joe Rogan.
Don't try to be Joe Rogan, yeah. Find your own voice.
Find your own voice.
Your own style.
What makes you unique?
That's what people connect with.
That's what people connect with.
Okay, so we've talked about Joe Rogan. We talked about Patreon, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a whole world out there.
It's a whole world.
And it's changing all the time.
It is.
But I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is just to start.
Oh, okay.
Don't get too caught up in the details.
Like, don't try to make it perfect right away.
Yeah, just get it out there.
Just start. Yeah.
You're going to learn so much by doing.
Okay, so just hit record.
Yeah, and then you can start figuring out what works, what doesn't work.
Experiment. Play around.
Exactly. Try different things.
I like that.
And don't be afraid to, change things up as you go. So don't be afraid to, totally scrap an idea and start over.
If it's not working, yeah, get rid of it.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
And it takes time, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not like you launch a podcast and suddenly you're Joe Rogan.
No, it's a process.
Yeah.
It takes consistency.
You got to keep at it.
Yeah, you got to put in the work.
And be patient.
Be patient. Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay, I like that.
But it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
When you start building that audience and connecting with people.
Yeah, and you start to, see the impact you're having.
Absolutely.
It's a really cool feeling.
It is.
So, this has been a great deep dive, I think.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
We've talked about everything from, sponsorships and merch to
TikTok,
Spotify deals and YouTube and TikTok.
It's a wild world.
It's a wild world out there, but it's also really exciting.
It is. Yeah, it's constantly changing.
So for anyone listening who's thinking about starting a podcast.
Or even just curious about it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Just go for it. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, you have nothing to lose.
You might find your new passion.
You might find your voice.
You might find your voice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so that's our deep dive into the world of podcasting.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning into our channel Money Minded Online. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Share this episode with friends who are looking to make money online and join the community. Drop a comment below with your favorite tip or takeaway. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep hustling and making moves. See you in the next episode.